It's a competition Seattle Sounders have grown to know and love. The US Open Cup starts here this evening at a sunny Starfire for the Sounders in 2014. Seattle looking for a fourth victory in this competition in just 6 years of being an MLS side. Tonight, they take on the amateur team of PSA Elite, all the way down from sunny California. Good evening from Ross Fletcher. Taylor Graham is alongside me. Beautiful evening. Here we are in Starfire, one of the most intimate and magical surroundings to play a game of soccer. The Sounders back in the US Open Cup. No better place to play, hey?
There really isn't. I love Starfire, and I've been trying to think of the perfect analogy for why is Starfire so different and why does it complement CenturyLink so much. And the only thing we've been able to come up with, or I've been thinking about, is the difference between an acoustic concert and then watching a concert at the Gorge. There's just a different type of emotion that comes from playing. The fans, they're right on top of the field. You can hear the crowd. You can hear the levels of communication. You can hear the tackles. You can hear the swearing. You can hear the celebrations from the players. And the fans kind of feed off that, and the players feed off what the fans do and what they provide. And 3,500, 4,000 fans expected tonight. We're just so lucky to have these two contrasting and both amazing venues.
This venue is sold out. It was sold out very quickly, rather like the Sounders games at CenturyLink Field. You mentioned the atmosphere for the fans. What about as a player? You got some great memories playing here for the Sounders, both with the USL team and with the MLS side. What's it like to play out there?
Well, the Open Cup has always been a competition that I've loved, and I've been on both sides of the emotion involved with it. In the USL days, we always were good at showing up and playing for 90 minutes, and it didn't matter who your opponent was. We came to play, and for that reason, we loved playing against MLS sides. I remember specifically playing a Colorado team at CenturyLink Field, which had the starting lineup of Mehdi Bellucci and Connor Casey and Facundo Erpin and Zach Thornton, all these guys that are still very relevant in the game today. And we beat them 5-0. And it was because we love to be on that side looking up at a Goliath. And then when they transitioned into MLS, it was the other way around. It was you're playing against teams like PSA Elite, and you understand the emotion that they're coming out with and the opportunity that they have to be able to play and impress and try to get to that professional level. And so I think that's the hybrid of those experiences, which the coaching staff and the organization's been able to tap into, and they're very good at coming in and playing in a 90-minute match or 120 like we've seen over the last couple of years.
And tonight really is David against Goliath. Seattle, winners of 3 Open Cups in their first 3 years as an MLS side, against PSA Elite, who are an amateur team out of California. A lot of college kids in their side. This is a little bit, Taylor, like the matchup 2 years ago against Cal FC, who were then coached by Eric Winalda. It's a bunch of guys, some who are aspiring professionals, some may be on the way down. What kind of a task and a test will it be for the Sounders?
It's going to be a big task, and I think it's so important that first 30 minutes to come out and set the tone, and that's what the Sounders were able to do against Eric Winalda's side and PSA Elite, is to come in immediately, take the front foot, and score that early goal. And that's just going to take the wind out of the sails of any amateur side to know that they're playing against guys that, Brad Evans in particular tonight, he was just left off the team going to Brazil, and here they are playing against a potential World Cup player in front of all these great fans. It's important to come off on that front foot. You know it's going to be very physical. They're going to come out with a lot of energy in the beginning of the game, and that's why it's important to find a rhythm, get the ball down, and impose yourself early.
So the Sounders tonight with a pretty strong starting lineup as we take a look at who's made it into the team for Sigi Schmid against PSA Elite. And as we look at the lineups, it is a pretty strong outfit, and you only have to look in goal. Marcus Hanneman getting his first start of the season. Sigi Schmid says the US Open Cup is his. And as we go from the bottom of your screen up, you can see the back four with Leo Gonzalez in there, Zach Scott and Jalil Anibaba, 3 guys who are getting minutes in 2014 in MLS play. David Estrada will start at right back. Then, as Taylor Graham mentioned, in the midfield, Brad Evans alongside Michael Azera, with Aaron Kovar and Sean Okoli, 2 first-year homegrown products, getting their starts out wide. Up front, there's goals there. Kenny Cooper and the former USL Sounder Cam Weaver, who will love being back here. That's a strong outfit, Taylor.
It really is. It's a good mix of experience, both at a professional level and some youth. You talked about the two homegrown players, Aaron Kovar and Sean Okoli. We got a little taste of what Sean can do and what he can provide coming off the bench in that home opener against Kansas City, but not too many fans have seen him play 90 minutes. And Aaron Kovar, this is his first taste, his real taste. He's played some reserve matches, but these matches are different in Starfire in front of these crowds, and with the Open Cup and the importance that this club puts on it, a huge opportunity for those guys striving to make themselves a regular in the starting 11 or in that 18.
So as you mentioned, PSA Elite are an amateur side. They've never faced a test like this before. As we bring you their starting 11, there is a smattering of experience in there, and also a familiar face if you watch the Sounders under-23s. Their goalkeeper, Earl Edwards, a 22-year-old who played 8 games last year for the Sounders under-23s, alongside Sean Okoli and Aaron Kovar. At the back, they have a couple of youngsters in defence. Along the middle, Aaron Simmons and Michael Amick at 20 and 19. They're smattered with UCLA and UC Irvine college players who are still playing for their college teams. But up front, Michael Salazar, wearing number 7, does have good experience. He has 4 caps for the Belize national team, and you may well have seen him unwittingly on your screens last year at the Gold Cup when he got time against the US and a couple of other Gold Cup nations. So, PSA Elite, a team not to be taken lightly, and Taylor, that really has to be it from the Sounders. They know they're playing an amateur team, but they have to bring out a professional performance tonight, not take them lightly.
They do, and it's easy to understand that, knowing that the LA Galaxy 2, who had the opportunity to hosting this potential game tonight, they came out maybe with that mentality of we're playing an amateur side, and we're a professional side playing against a team that shouldn't be on the park with us. And that's why you play these games. I'm a big fan of March Madness, and some of those games, 1 versus 16 in that first round, that's what makes it so exciting, is that there's a reason why these games are played, is because soccer is one of those sports where unless you show up and play the way that you're going, you potentially can, ability means nothing unless you bring out that work rate to match it.
You mentioned LA Galaxy 2. They're the team that PSA Elite beat in the last round. Bruce Arena's second string side that play in the 3rd tier of US soccer. So no mugs, some very good experienced players in the LA Galaxy side who were beaten on penalty kicks by PSA Elite. The Sounders here at Starfire have played 12 and won 12. It's really catapulted them through the middle part of their seasons in the past 4 or 5 years. And at the end of it, the carrot that's dangled is a chance to play on an even bigger stage. The CONCACAF Champions League against some big Mexican sides. We've seen what that's done for the Sounders.
Yeah, we have an ownership group that's always tried to push to try to get to the highest level, and that's winning a Champions League. And it's been a key initiative from the club from the very beginning, and those experiences will continue to push this club in the direction that we're trying to go, is to be a relevant team, of the best team in our CONCACAF region. But there's everything for these players. There's some purse money if you win. There's an opportunity to get some minutes for those that haven't played, and then there's the potential invitation to CONCACAF. And so there's everything to play for today. And you know that Ziggy Schmidt and Brian Schmetz are going to be talking about these things before the start of this match.
Well, the crowd is starting to rise up here in anticipation of the teams taking the field. They've been given the warning. Around 4,000 are crammed in tonight here into Starfire. It will be a tremendous occasion. It always is here at Starfire for the US Open Cup. Out on the field, Soundwave ready to greet the two teams. The sun's starting to slide behind this main stand now as the coach is taking the field. And away to our right-hand side will come Seattle Sounders FC. They haven't played here at Starfire in a US Open Cup game for a couple of years. Last year was the first time that they failed to reach the final. An incredible feat to get to 4 consecutive finals. Last year was a round 3 exit at the hands of Tampa Bay Rowdies. But back home today, Seattle will hope to get the job done. We mentioned the carrot that is dangled for the Sounders. It's ultimately a place for the winners of this tournament in the CONCACAF Champions League. Whoever wins tonight will face the San Jose Earthquakes in round number 5. So let's just soak up some of this atmosphere as we await the two teams, with the Sounders facing off against PSA Elite in the 4th round of the US Open Cup.
Number 23, Cam. And number 33, Kenny. And your Sounders FC head coach, Ziggy.
So as the teams prepare to make their way out, Taylor, let's talk about one of those hugely experienced players getting another chance tonight. Marcus Hanneman in goal, just over the age of 40. I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning that. What kind of an opportunity is this for him?
Well, the one thing about Marcus is he's a competitor, and he's not on this team to be a backup. He's always talked about wanting to play week in and week out for this club. And, you know, Stefan Fry's done a great job. He's had some mistakes, and there might have been a window of opportunity. But we spoke about this in the past, that Ziggy Schmidt gave him a vote of confidence for Stefan Fry to continue that. But this is Marcus's opportunity to really get some game experience, to earn some shutouts, and to make himself, put himself back into the conversation for these matches as they become increasingly important in the MLS campaign.
And we talked earlier about Cam Weaver, who started out with Seattle U, the USL Sounders. 1994, you can go back to when Marcus Hanneman made his debut for the old A-League Seattle. I don't think even he would have thought he'd be back out here. What, 20 years later?
Probably not, and no one wants to talk about the fact that he just turned 42, but champions in 1994 and 95 before he went overseas, and everyone knows about his amazing career with the national team and in Europe, but just to be able to have someone like that who's just resonates with the community and the fan base and the organization and can tie that all together, especially in the 40th anniversary of this franchise, it just means the world.
Taylor, thank you very much for your thoughts. I'll be back with you in a moment. We'll have the national anthem for you, but before all that, we'll let you soak up the pre-match atmosphere here at Starfire. Terrific, rousing national anthem. Hardly a seat to be had here inside Starfire. Good evening from Ross Fletcher. We are revved up for the US Open Cup 4th round between Seattle Sounders FC of Major League Soccer and PSA Elite, the amateur side based out of Irvine, California. Let's bring you the two teams as we look down on the pre-match festivities. And we'll start with Seattle Sounders FC, who have a strong lineup out there. Marcus Hanneman in goal. The back four from right to left as you look from the bottom up: David Estrada, Zach Scott, Jalil Anibaba and Leo Gonzalez. In the middle of midfield, Brad Evans and Michael Azira. On the flanks, it'll be Sean Okoli on the right, and a Sounders professional debut on the left for Aaron Kovar. Up front, Cam Weaver and Kenny Cooper with huge experience between them. And it's an even stronger bench. Josh Ford, the backup goalkeeper. And you can see the rest. There's internationals there. Gonzalo Pineda, a World Cup player himself in 2006, if needed. Ziggy Schmidt, your head coach of Seattle Sounders FC. As we now bring you the lineup for PSA Elite, their coach, Salvador Moran. Gary Berry is also there alongside and assisting. The goalkeeper, Earl Edwards Jr., was a Sounders under-23 player last year. Their back four from right to left will be Oscar Castillo, Aaron Simmons, Michael Amick and Jaime Cano. In midfield, Erlis Garcia and Grady Howe in the middle. Jose Preciado on the left-hand side, Mats Bierman on the right, and up front, Cameron Iwasa and Michael Salazar, the Belize international who we told you a few moments ago played in the US game in the 2013 Gold Cup. Our referee placing the ball down is Babacar Jallo. You've probably seen him at CenturyLink Field, but not as the man in the middle. Normally he's an assistant referee, but the 39-year-old in his third season is tonight the man in the middle. Well, Seattle have a tremendous record, an impeccable record here at Starfire. 12 US Open Cup matches here, no less than 12 victories. Some last-minute instructions for Sean Okoli from Kenny Cooper. From a vastly experienced man to a first-year homegrown product. Getting only his third appearance and his first start professionally for the Sounders. As you can see, Seattle are in the Cascade Shale tonight. PSA Elite in the luminous lime. Well, I'll take modifications on the exact colour if you want to tweet me at RossFletcher1. So Seattle will kick from right to left. Quite simply, this is the joy of Knockout Cup competition, and it's one of the purest David and Goliath matches you'll see in all of US sports. It's Seattle, the three-time winners of the Open Cup, with an average attendance of more than 40,000 fans, against an amateur side with no official website, who before this tie was announced could muster 621 Facebook likes and 85 followers on Twitter. That is the size of the matchup this evening. It is why we love sports. Anything can happen. From Seattle's point of view, they will hope the favourites prevail. So many questions coming in. How will the amateur side from California fare under this pressure? The biggest crowd that many of them will have ever played against. A chance for them maybe to show their skills, rather like another amateur side, Cal FC, who were here 2 years ago in this very same competition, then led by Eric Winalda, who put up a spirited fight to beat Portland Timbers away before being drubbed 5-0 by Seattle, which remains the Sounders' biggest ever win in this competition. Kovar with the throw in, and it's cleared away comfortably by Simmons. This is Kovar again, lovely delivery, pump into the back post where Cooper took a little nudge. Estrada, that's Amick. Evans, and it's a first corner of the game for Seattle. Michael Amick wearing number 3, the 19-year-old central defender, a freshman last year at UCLA, passing his first test. Aaron Kovar has tremendous delivery with that left foot. Annie Barber, rather like against Portland earlier in the season, getting a back post flick. And that's Michael Azira. And that shot is one for the 7:29 Amtrak train down to Portland. In case you're new to Starfire, behind those trees on the left is a train line, and probably 4 or 5 trains will rumble by before this evening is done. Michael Salazar with the flick on. This is Aaron Simmons. Very youthful back four for PSA Elite. Very youthful team overall. Simmons is 20. Mentioned Michael Amick is 19. Jaime Cano, the left back, is 22. The most experienced on the back line is the right back, Oscar Castillo, at 27 years old. Flicked on by Weaver. It's a first test for Earl Edwards, who's a regular round these parts, having played 8 games last year for Seattle Sounders under-23s, and a colleague of Aaron Kovar and Sean Okoli, who were out there tonight for the Sounders. It's Evans. He's got a runner in Okoli. Here he is. Cooper's in the box. And that will be a goal kick. As expected, Seattle starting on the front foot. We mentioned the PSA lineup. Well, the Sounders with a terrific mix of experience and youth. Able to bring in Marcus Hanneman, who's just turned 42, and happy birthday to him. Zach Scott, a bedrock, alongside Leo Gonzalez. Both 33 years old. Kenny Cooper and Cam Weaver, 29 and 30, with oodles of first-team minutes under their belts. This, the 101st edition of the US Open Cup, as an Englishman brought up on part of the fibre of your being is the FA Cup, one of the oldest knockout soccer competitions in the world. This is rivaling it in terms of history and heritage. And this year, a record number of entries in the modern era. Over 100 when you take into account qualifying. And when I say qualifying, another beauty of the US Open Cup is very much that. It's an open competition. Anybody can enter, and that's why you have PSA Elite here tonight as an amateur side taking on the behemoths of Seattle. This is Bjerman. And now Jose Preciado, 26-year-old, who won and scored the penalty in the first round for PSA Elite. Yes, they've had to come through a couple of games already. He eventually won that game on a penalty shootout against the LA Misioneros. Their second round opponent was a walkover. San Diego Flash was supposed to host PSA Elite, another strong development club further south, but the Flash couldn't find a field to play on in time, so that allowed PSA Elite through to a third round game at LA Galaxy 2, the reserve side of Bruce Arena. It was 0-0 after a punishing 120 minutes before PSA Elite won on penalties. So they haven't scored a goal from open play in this year's competition. Will that be a factor? Björman for Michael Salazar. Distinctive character with that floppy hair. And here he is again, Preciado. And Erlis Garcia, who's dropped into a right-back role. I was speaking before this game to the president of PSA Elite, Alex Lujan. He said they would start with a 4-4-2, but there would be some switching going on depending on how much pressure the team is taking. And they have reverted early on from a 4-4-2 into a 5-3-2 PSA Elite. Erlis Garcia in the right central defender position. Oscar Castillo out on the right-hand side. Reminiscent of the Dutch team today at the World Cup with their 3 central defenders. Roberto Martinez talking long and hard on the ESPN coverage about how he uses that system very well at his club side Everton. Thinks there's a tactical advantage to be had, pushing the full-backs high with 3 covering central defenders. I doubt you'll see much of that tonight from PSA Elite. Their attitude very much bunker in, absorb the pressure, try and nick a goal maybe from a set piece or a counter-attack. The onus very much on Seattle to play. And that's Zach Scott out of play. Scott, who's starting his 13th US Open Cup game for the Sounders tonight, more than any other player in Sounders' recent history. Amick back for his keeper, Edwards. And I'm not sure yet whether PSA Elite have managed a touch inside the Sounders' half, or at least the final third. Okoli goes up. No doubt wanting to impress tonight. Scott's header. Jose Preciado. And now Azera for Cooper. Okoli with a run. Kovar at the far post. Weaver near the middle. Here he is! Big chance! And it's a goal kick. It fell kindly to Cam Weaver. And you would have thought he would test the keeper from there. First significant chance of the game for Seattle Sounders. Salazar flicking on. This could be interesting. Cameron Iwasa giving chase. It was Anibaba tidying up. And then Weaver taken down by Simmons. Advantage played. Estrada. Okoli can't keep that one in. You saw the ball running pretty quickly there. It's something that Ziggy Schmidt, the Sounders head coach, had mentioned pre-game when asked about the playing conditions. The surface here at Starfire, little used by the Sounders. And Schmidt saying it wasn't ideal. The field turf is pretty flat, and the artificial blades, it means, are sitting on the turf rather than standing up. And when they're sitting on the turf, the ball rolls much more quickly. It's less of a true roll. So both sides having to get used to the different dynamic of the field tonight. Kenny Cooper. Evans. Okoli. Cano battling away with him. Just graduated from Cal State Fullerton, Jaime Cano. Estrada, there's the shot, and it's just passed from Weaver. Well, that's 2 good looks for the big man in his first start for the Sounders. Encouraging signs for Seattle. Seattle starting to find their flow now, and it's Weaver again, but that will go out right by the beer tent. One of the most crowded areas tonight, I'm sure. Remember in years gone by, the queues snaking almost up to the halfway line. People to get their libations. Okoli. Starting to be a menace on that right. Seattle looking to use his pace to get in behind Jaime Cano. This is Salazar. That's well done. He was looking for Björman. And miscommunication there between Garcia and Castillo. Cooper. Two in the box. Cooper again. And finally, Okoli gets his foot on the ball. Evans making the darting run. Another decent ball in, and that is turned behind by Erlis Garcia. And that's the second corner of the evening. Kovar to take. Again looking for Annie Barber at the far post. Garcia with his head on. And clearing again. And these are the moments where PSA Elite will try and counter-attack. But Okoli has it back. In by Kovar. Now Azera. Seattle moving the ball well. Okoli for Estrada. The pace coming up from right back. Let's turn out a play by Jaime Cano. Evans. Simmons with the header clear. And then blocked by Salazar, who already looks like an energetic and tricky presence for Seattle. And he's won PSA Elite a free kick here. And looks like he'll need some treatment. Well, let's have a look here again at exactly what happened to him. Taking a tumble in a challenge with Michael Azera. And he's back up and okay. Crucial player for PSA Elite. We only have one man in the box here. It was Björman. Comfortably dealt with by Seattle. The longer this stays at 0-0, the happier the amateur side from Irvine, California will be. Evans with the foul. On Cameron Iwasa. Iwasa is one of two UC Irvine players in the starting lineup for PSA Elite. And I mentioned free kicks, set pieces. These are the kinds of opportunities that PSA Elite will thrive on. And it's comfortable for Marcus Hanneman. mention to Taylor Graham earlier, it's a little under 20 years since Marcus Hannemann made his debut as an A-League sounder, all the way back 6th of July 1994, when I doubt many of you were even out of short trousers. Stellar career for him, and great for him to continue playing, to be able to play and to bring his career full circle, to come home as a Seattle native and still play competitive soccer at the age of 42. There aren't many in the game that can say they've done that. And he'll get another touch on the ball here. As you can see, PSA Elite very happy to hold a deep line, to compress the final third of their own half, and occasionally try and get a breakout, using the target of Michael Salazar when they can. But they've been very well organised. As Gonzalez throws for Weaver. Kovar. Oniukoli in the box. And away by Iwasa. Asking Salazar to chase. It was a difficult one for Anibaba. And he's prevented the corner, but at the expense of possession. Cameron Iwasa. Anibaba makes amends. Kovar looking for Weaver, tidied up and taken away by Castillo. Now Brad Evans. Kovar again, looking to impress. His first outing for the Sounders. That's a lovely ball. Simmons got his head on it. Cooper battling away. Preciado will bring it clear and is then fouled by Brad Evans. He's complaining to Babacar Jallo. He got the ball. So it stays 0-0 with nearly a quarter of this game gone. The fourth round of the Lamar Hunt US Open. You could say right now it's the world's second biggest soccer tournament, after that small fact of the World Cup. Some other scorelines in tonight. Sporting Kansas City beating Minnesota United of the NASL by 2-0. Earlier, New England Revolution winning 3-2 at lower league Richmond Kickers. We'll bring you news on Chicago against Pittsburgh Riverhounds, and later on Arizona United against LA Galaxy, which kicked off at 7:30. As Anibaba gets there again, the far post target. Azira, Simmons with the header. Preciado now is the counter on. Salazar. Oscar Castillo, ambitious, looking for Cameron Iwasa. And that should have been comfortable for Marcus Hannemann. He was aware enough. It's nice to bring you some stories of the PSA Elite players. You're looking now at Erlis Garcia, a 28-year-old who came to California by way of Tampa, by way of Cuba. He played 2 games for the Cuban national team, but a year after Ozzy Alonso defected from his homeland, Erlis Garcia did the same. He was playing in Tampa at an Olympic qualifying tournament with his Cuban national team, and along with 6 others walked out of the team hotel and never went back home. And it's given away here to Aaron Kovar. May have a go, he's got a long way to go, it's a penalty. Aaron Simmons with the rash challenge. And Aaron Kovar has won his team the chance to take the lead from the spot. No doubt about it. Good skill from Kovar. Simmons tried to stay with him, and Kovar wasn't really going anywhere. What an opportunity now. And it's going to be Brad Evans. For so long, the Sounders' #1 penalty taker, 7 from 7 in his Seattle career. And it's 8 from 8 now! Brad Evans with his first goal of the season. Calmly, coolly, casually taken. And the Sounders finally ahead. I mentioned he'd never missed. No reason to suspect so then. Well, it's exactly what Seattle wanted. Their early dominance has paid off. And now, what will the approach be from the amateur team of PSA Elite, who sat back, absorbed pressure? They will have to come out of their shell at some point. And such a shame for young Aaron Simmons, the central defender. The player who actually scored the winning penalty in the last round at LA Galaxy 2, conceding the penalty here. So, Estrada on the ball now. And there is Aaron Simmons, junior at UCLA. The biggest test he's ever faced. Here's Kovar, who won that penalty. Estrada. Cooper let it run. He thought he had teammates up with him. Here's Garcia. Now the fullback, Oscar Castillo. Immediately you can see that PSA Elite are putting more men forwards. Will that leave gaps for the Sounders to exploit? Well, I mentioned earlier, Sporting Kansas City and New England Revolution, 2 MLS teams knocking out lower league opposition. There have been several other fourth-round games before tonight. 4 MLS teams knocked out, though. The holders, DC United, after more than 2 hours of a weather delay last night at Rochester Rhinos. One of those teams that, at the turn of the century, were a powerhouse in the US Open Cup, the Rhinos. They've got a big scalp in knocking out DC, who are the Sounders' next opponents in Major League Soccer in around a week and a half. New York Red Bulls lost the New York Derby to the Cosmos of the NASL 3-0 at the weekend, although it was a second-string Red Bulls side. RSL put out a reserve-strength team and were duly beaten by Eric Winalda's Atlanta Silverbacks 2-1. The Silverbacks of the second-tier NASL. And Chivas USA, the other MLS side, to have gone out. They lost a penalty shootout to another NASL team, Carolina Railhawks. Other MLS teams, though, who fared better and are through to round number 5, Houston, San Jose, Philadelphia, a 9-man Columbus who won after extra time at Harrisburg City Islanders, Dallas, Colorado and Portland. So plenty of tricky teams ahead if Seattle Sounders progress tonight. The winners of this tie will play San Jose Earthquakes next Tuesday. Cam Weaver causing ructions for Earl Edwards in the PSA goal. Really put himself about in this opening half an hour, Cam Weaver. That's a free kick for Seattle. Kovar fouled. And a chance for the central defenders to come forwards. It'll be Kovar to take it. He has a lovely left foot into the sunshine. It's a great ball, and there's Cooper. He didn't quite get hold of it. Another good chance. As now Salazar's trying to get on the end of a long clearance. PSA Elite losing their mark at that point. You do wonder a second goal, whether it would kill the game. Weaver is offside. But the one goal will do so far for the Sounders. Brad Evans' penalty. And the 23rd minute, the difference. Cleared away for PSA, but again, not too much pressure on the Sounders. Preciado has now pushed up front alongside Salazar. Preciado wearing number 22. And now a hefty challenge on Cam Weaver. Play goes on. Pressure from Sean Okoli. The experience of Garcia tidying that situation up for PSA Elite. And now they have a rare chance to come forwards. The fullback Cano is joining in if Iwasa can find him. Took too long on the ball. And it's a break the other way with Sean Okoli. Taking on Cano. And fouling his man. Always fantastic support here at Starfire. We mentioned the tickets sold out, around 4,000 of them, incredibly quickly. And it's a very intimate atmosphere here. Very, very tight. And the noise is tremendous coming off this corrugated roof right above us in our commentary position on halfway. Well, Estrada down, looks to be okay. Just another chance to roar on the team. Never a dull minute. And I've been doing this job 2.5 years. I think my hearing will be out within the next couple. They are so loud. Weaver going up, doesn't need to get a touch. Kovar. Lovely ball, looking for Okoli. Estrada will keep it in. Cano to meet him. Still Estrada. And that's turned away by Michael Amick. 16 starts as a centre-back at UCLA for the 19-year-old. Brad Evans joining the beer tent crew. Difficult header. There's Weaver. A 6'5" frame. Always favoured in the air. And we mentioned for the Sounders a chance for many of the players out there to prove their worth to Ziggy Schmidt. One of those men just on the ball there, number 42, Michael Azira. Only his third start this season, 2 MLS starts. Played against Columbus and at Portland. Now Okoli, 3 in the area, taking on Cano. It's either the pace of Okoli or the craft of Kovar down the flanks for the Sounders. Michael Salazar is cutting a lonely figure right now for the amateur side. Hounded out. Not really being given an opportunity to show his stuff. By the way, Michael Salazar, I'm entirely unaware that he's related to the referee, Ricardo. Estrada. Azira. Okoli makes a run. Cleared up to Salazar. And this time it's his own touch, letting him down. What you have to say, though, is with 33 minutes gone, it's been a highly creditable performance by PSA Elite. They certainly haven't caved in after that first goal. They've shown tremendous character against a team ranked much higher than them. Evans. Getting it back from Weaver. Kovar. Cooper comes near post. Up towards Okoli. Cano got his foot in the way. Now Estrada. That's taken away by Cameron Iwasa. And well defended. But it's wave after wave of Cascade Shale slipping towards the PSA Elite goal. Not quite the avalanche of Shale yet, though. As now Kovar takes down Ernest Garcia. That will be a free kick. Kovar at 20 years of age, another one looking to impress. Seattle native, a fan since the USL days. He was first a fan at the age of 10, Aaron Kovar. Used to go to the USL Seattle matches with his dad. Lived only 5 minutes from CenturyLink Field, the Garfield High School product. And after a couple of years at Stanford and with the Seattle Academy, the under-23s, here he is on the big stage. Weaver in a battle with Aaron Simmons, who's conceded the free kick. And Weaver has been a source of real enterprise tonight for the Sounders. Had a couple of efforts, won some free kicks. No doubt he'll be a target here for Aaron Kovar. It's about 30 yards out. Kovar might even have a go here. Instead it's Azira. And it's easy for Earl Edwards. And Edwards, a man who's used to taking the punishment. At LA Galaxy 2 in the last round, he saved 14 shots and a couple of penalties. So no pushover. Started in the Under-17 World Cup in 2009. So there are players in the PSA Elite team with pedigree. And that's why they have come and put up a sound fight. Grady Howe away, UCLA sophomore Howe, also with the LA Galaxy Academy. put it in perspective, 8 of these PSA Elite players tonight who are starting are 22 years of age or younger. Compare that with the Sounders. Just Aaron Kovar and Sean Okoli, a vastly more experienced side. And it's Weaver coming away. He's got work to do as the furthest man forwards. And Ellis Garcia contests that he won the ball. But he sent Weaver crashing to the floor. And that's a free kick for Seattle. Let's have a look at it, shall we? As Garcia came in from the back. And you can't do that. So again, I wonder if Azira is saying, I want to have a shot. It's either a cross from Kovar or an effort from Azira. The second goal now would do very nicely for Seattle. They'd love a bit more of a cushion heading into half-time. Some very precise instructions from the captain. On me, Edson, probably what he's saying. It's Kovar who will lift it. And it's turned away by Preciado. Okoli. In goes Garcia, the Cuban. But it's a weak clearance. Evans takes on Cano and wins the corner. The 4th of the evening for Seattle. And it comes from Kovar. Scott with the header! 2-0. As emphatic as you like from Mr. Sounder. It's his first goal in a couple of years. Lovely delivery from Aaron Kovar. Scott so good at rising at the near post. Nothing that Earl Edwards could do. Not even the player on the line. That is a thumping header. And could it be a decisive advantage now for Seattle Sounders FC? Well, he scored a goal like that against LA Galaxy in the 2012 playoffs and one in April 2012 against Colorado Rapids. Zach Scott at 33 years young, continuing to prove his worth. The other thing to note, Aaron Kovar with the assist. He won the penalty and it was his corner that allowed Scott to get his head on the ball. Impressive from the youngster. It is that second goal I was mentioning before half-time that Seattle so wanted. And now I suppose the question has to be, how many more can they go on and get? It's the fullback Oscar Castillo for Jose Preciado. And Seattle pressing up on their opponents. Scott, just as good a header as a moment ago. It's given away to Okoli. A real test of character and resolve now for PSA Elite. Garcia. That'll be a Seattle Sounders throw in. for Leo Gonzalez, who hasn't really been tested in this half. This is 8th start of the season for Leo Gonzalez. Had hamstring problems, off-season groin surgery. This is one of those games that's good for fitness. Seattle are in the middle of their World Cup break from Major League Soccer. And I'm sure many of these players out there tonight grateful for the opportunity to keep the competitive cogs whirring. Long time to be out of action, going all the way through from that Chicago Fire game on June the 7th, and then 3 weeks later facing DC United. We'll of course have that one for you on Joe TV. Sure, we'll come to talk more about that in the second half of this game, as Seattle lead by 2-0 against the amateur side PSA Elite out of Irvine, California. If you're just tuning in, welcome to SoundersFC.com. I'm Ross Fletcher. We'll have a look at the goals at half-time. 2 strikes which have put Seattle in a comfortable position here at Starfire. Interception by Castillo. Defending to do for Ellis Garcia, and Weaver's won it for Cooper. It'll break for Azira. Estrada started a run, thought about a 1-2. Seattle, I'm sure they will be happy to go into the break with this 2-goal advantage. Ziggy Schmidt, chance to issue instructions, and I'm sure he'll be saying, well done so far, let's keep going. As Estrada looks for Cooper! Number 3! Fabulous ball from David Estrada, and it's a first US Open Cup goal in a Seattle Sounders shirt for number 33, Kenny Cooper. And surely now, this tie is all but done. Excellent work by Estrada, who did eventually take that opportunity to get down the flank. A beautiful ball in. And even though it pained him, Kenny Cooper was determined to get on the end of that. It's his 4th goal of the season. Seattle leading PSA Elite by 3-0. And that is a fine first half by the Sounders. Well, I said 2-0 would be enough for Seattle. 3-0 is almost a luxury. Do they even have time for more as we're into stoppage time? There won't be much of that. Sean Okoli taking on Cano. And it's a corner. And there will be time for it. So we're into the 1 minute of added time. Well, 4 goals before the break would be really greedy. Kovar with the corner, another good one. Weaver looked like he was held. And Ibaba, there's Evans. And it's easy for Edwards that time. And after a confident enough start, PSA Elite here have been put on the rack. Stretched and stretched, they bent and bent before finally breaking in the 23rd minute when Aaron Kovar won that penalty for Seattle. That opened it up for Brad Evans to score the penalty. Zach Scott with a thumping header 5 minutes before half-time from Aaron Kovar's cross from the corner. before Kenny Cooper moments ago made it 3 with a close-range header from David Estrada's pinpoint service. So let's have a look at those goals, shall we, which have given Seattle that very, very luxurious cushion. This was the penalty from Evans, 8 from 8 from the spot in his Seattle career. Very composed, leaving Earl Edwards with no chance. Doesn't matter whether it's in front of 40,000 or 4,000, he does the same. This was Zach Scott. Mentioned on commentary how good he is at getting into the near post and angling that header beyond the keeper and the man on the line. Aaron Kovar's delivery was superb. And then this was just as good from David Estrada. The run from Kenny Cooper, tremendous. Getting inside Erlis Garcia, and he's not going to miss from there. So Seattle Sounders leading at halftime by 3-0 against PSA Elite. I'm Ross Fletcher. I'll be back with you for the second half here on SoundersFC.com.
On Tuesday's Rave TV, brought to you by Xbox One, we recap the first U.S. men's national team showdown in Brazil, and it was a good one. Hey, what's going on? I'm Jackie Montgomery, and welcome back to Rave TV. So, did you hear there was a little soccer game yesterday? Yes, no, maybe? Well, if you didn't, I'm a little concerned, but don't worry, we've got you covered. On Monday, the U.S. men's national team played in its first match of the 2014 FIFA World Cup, beating Ghana 2-1. It was the first time the U.S. had ever beaten the Black Stars, who had knocked them out of the 2 previous World Cups. So I think it's safe to say a little revenge helped fuel the red, white, and blue. And they got it just 30 seconds in when the Sounders' own Clint Dempsey scored the opening goal with a nifty move into the box. It was the fastest goal in U.S. World Cup history and the 5th fastest in FIFA World Cup history. Deuce is now the first American ever to score in 3 consecutive World Cups. With the score level at 1, 21-year-old John Brooks headed in the game winner in the 86th minute off a Graham Zusi corner kick. Brooks' goal is the first World Cup goal scored by a substitute in U.S. soccer history, and so far, he is the youngest player to score in this year's tournament. Well, here's a little fun fact for you. Dempsey's first goal in a World Cup was also the opening goal against Ghana back in 2006. Well, of course, Ziggy Schmidt watched the match yesterday, and he thinks the U.S. is off to a good start.
I mean, it's great. Absolutely fantastic for the U.S. to win. You know, the early goal by Clint. You know, it's tough to play when you get hit in the nose like you got, you know, where you're constantly, you can't breathe out of your nose for the rest of the game. I mean, 2 days later, a broken nose, it all settles down. But great performance by Clint, great performance by the team. You know, coming back, getting the late goal was fantastic. Between the first goal and the late goal winner, I'm sure there's some things they would feel better about if their play had been maybe a little bit different or a little bit sharper. But at the end of the day, nobody's going to remember that. All they're going to remember is 2-1, and they're going to remember 3 points, and that's so important in a World Cup opener.
Winning the opening match of the tournament was huge for the U.S., especially after a couple players had to leave the match due to hamstring injuries.
Well, you know, obviously Altidore, I think, has a big effect because neither Johansson nor Wondolowski are the same type of forward. So is he going to push Clint high, bring out another midfielder? Is he going to play one of those 2 guys? I mean, it changes their game. And I think Clint, you know, in my experience with him now, I think he's better when he's playing forward with a forward who's willing to mix it up a little bit, you know, who's willing to take on some of those duels and those battles which Altidore takes on and Johansson sort of shies away from. And Wondolowski doesn't do that part of it because he's got Lenhart and Gordon and those guys to do that. So it definitely changes some things. You know what the situation is with Beasler is going to be up in the air. It looked like Bedoya had a little bit of a pull as well. So, you know, they have to look at those things and try and get people healthy. But what's nice is in past the World Cup, you were like playing every third or fourth day. Now you're playing every fifth or sixth day. So there's definitely a difference in rhythm.
Reports out Tuesday said that Clint Dempsey did in fact break his nose, but he should be good to go for Portugal. It is yet to be determined whether or not he'll need to wear a mask. As for center back Matt Beasler, he left the match with tightness in his hamstring, but according to head coach Jurgen Klinsmann, he is, quote, no problem for Portugal. As for Jozy Altidore, Klinsmann is optimistic that he'll return in time to finish out group play, but he will not give a timeline for his return. Where did you watch the match on Monday? At a bar, from your office, maybe your couch at home? Well, the Seattle chapter and Tacoma chapter of the American Outlaws threw some pretty incredible viewing parties, and a few Sounders were on hand to watch and celebrate with the fans. In Seattle, AO met at the Atlantic Crossing pub in Ravenna, and Chad Barrett, Lamar Nagel, and Gonzalo Pineda were on hand to cheer on the red, white, and blue. Down in Tacoma, a couple U.S. internationals met up at Doyle's Pub as Marcus Hanneman and Brad Evans enjoyed the match with 100 plus of their closest friends. Well, if you're looking for a place to watch the U.S.-Portugal match this Sunday, the Seattle chapter of the American Outlaws will be holding a viewing party at Fuel down in Seattle. Well, with one game in the books for the group of death, here's a look at the current standings for Group G. Germany sits on top of the group with a +4 goal differential after their thrashing of Portugal Monday morning. The U.S. sits right behind them, followed by the two defeated sides. Well, that's going to do it for me. Thanks for watching Rave TV, and we'll preview the U.S.-Portugal match for you this Friday.
Welcome back to Starfire. Seattle Sounders leading by 3-0 over PSA Elite from California, from sunny California to here at sunny Starfire. It's going well for the Sounders, who are on course for a 13th victory out of 13 here at what we'd like to call their second home. It seems to certainly have that feel about it, doesn't it? Good evening, you're with Ross Fletcher and Taylor Graham, who's joining me again for halftime analysis. And Taylor, really job done by the Sounders in that first 45 minutes.
Yeah, it was. It was a great start by the team. They came out on the front foot. They had some early chances that I would love to see him put away. Cam Weaver had a couple, but for the most part, it was a dominant first 45 minutes for the Sounders, and the scoreline reflects that.
They got chances, as you mentioned, early on. They had to wait until the middle part of that half for a goal from Brad Evans in the penalty spot, won by Aaron Kovar, who's also set up the second from the corner. Have you been impressed with him? You know, I have. He's got to pick and choose his times to find the ball, but when he has found the ball at his feet, he's been dangerous. He's got an assist, and he drew a penalty as good as an assist. A lot of the play stemming from good wide play, more play up the right side. Sean Okoli finding the ball at his feet inside and on the touch more than Aaron Kovar. But the young guy's looking to try to impress Ziggy Schmidt, and don't forget David Estrada whips in a great ball for Kenny Cooper to make it 3-0 towards the end of the first half. You make a good point there. Lots of players who've got something to prove. There are a smattering of youngsters in there. You mentioned Estrada too. How well have they all gelled together, as well as making their own individual points? Yeah, it is, and you could see that there's certain players that really understand the tightness and the way this field plays. Zach Scott switching players when he can, instead of playing the most comfortable player or playing Mike Azir, when you can bypass someone in the back four, it gives Aaron Kovar more opportunity to get the ball at his feet and run at defenders. That was one of the reasons why he was able to draw that first penalty. But the quicker they can move the ball, there's no chance PSA Elite can keep up with them with the quality that the Sounders have. Now, I mentioned that it's a long break for Seattle, or it would have been from that July 7th game at Chicago until the next MLS game, which is the 28th at DC United. How useful has this match been for the players to get some match fitness into their legs to make sure they're sharp when they come back to MLS? Yeah, I think match fitness is part of it, but also it's just a rhythm of play. When you go 3 weeks without playing a competitive match, it wears on you. And so the team's looking forward to the Open Cup to establish that sort of rhythm as they go into DC towards the end of the month. And now the second half here against PSA Elite. 3-0 to the Sounders at the break. First off, the attitude from the Sounders. What do you expect from the final 45 minutes? Is it step on the throat time? Yeah, I think so. I don't think they're going to see them change too much. Tactically, they were impressive. PSA Elite defending with 10 players and using one player up top to counter, and Zach Scott and Jalil Anibaba picking and choosing their times to double up him, not letting him hold up the ball and find rhythm. And so the second half to me is a lot more of the same, moving the ball quickly, using the flanks as possible, and when you don't have as much time and space,
you target your big forwards like Cam Weaver and Kenny Cooper up top, let them hold up the ball and do what they do best.
And what you've noticed from PSA Elite, who are an amateur side, remember, who have changed players every round that they've played. It's just the nature of their soccer club. They've only been going for 3.5 years. They seemed organised. They were well drilled. They weren't any pushover, particularly in that first 20 minutes. What are they looking now to get out of this game?
Oh, experience. You know, there's no way they're going to go into halftime and say that this game is over. They're going to come out fighting. At times, they defended at 5 at the back. That's not going to happen at any point in the second half unless the Sounders just pin them in their half the field. Look to see them maybe push another player up front, try to put a partnership to see if they can come to create some sort of sustainable pressure on the Sounders defensively, but which they were unable to do in the first 45.
And would you expect substitutes from Ziggy Schmidt in the second half? He's got a very, very well-loaded bench.
Yeah, I do. A very well-loaded bench, and you'd love to see a few guys get some experience. You know, Fabio Pereira is on the bench. You'd love to see him get introduced into the Sounders family and culture and playing in front of these great fans. And so, you know, pick and choose his times. Maybe Brad Evans, a likely player. You know he's fit coming off of that national team camp with the doubles and triple days that we've heard Jurgen Klinsmann talk about. So plenty of options from the bench, and you know the quality's not going to drop off because of the caliber of player that's sitting there next to Ziggy Schmidt.
So the Sounders 3-0 up then at halftime against PSA Elite. I mentioned that DC United match, which is next up for Seattle on June 28th. Myself and Taylor will have that one for you. Seattle will come in, as it stands, Taylor, with a very good victory under their belt, taking nothing for granted, but it looks like this game is won. In MLS play, they're 10-3-2. Have you known a better time to be a Sounders fan than right now?
No, I mean, the results speak for themselves, but it's the quality of play in addition to those results that has just made it so fun to be a Sounders fan. Most interested to me is what's going to happen up top with Obafemi Martins coming off that red card suspension. Clint Dempsey still away for the World Cup. So there's going to be a little bit of a challenge to see who's going to take the reins and continue to drive this team offensively. And they've just been so dangerous continuously over the last couple months.
Well, we'll hope by that time that both Clint Dempsey and DeAndre Edlin will still be with the US team, who've got 2 more group games to play in the World Cup. You might have seen in that Ghana victory that tremendous goal by Dempsey, which eventually FIFA, on about the 4th time of asking, timed at 29 seconds. Sublime skill from him. He took a bloody nose as well, Dempsey. He was heavily involved. Having got that win, the monkey off their back against Ghana, and now next up against a bloodied and beaten Portugal team with doubts over Cristiano Ronaldo's fitness. What do you think the chances are for the US to progress into the last 16 down in Brazil?
Well, I've been optimistic from the beginning. That's just my personality in general. But coming off the performance against Nigeria, you could feel that the team was really starting to click. You didn't get that feeling against Azerbaijan with their first warm-up games. But this team's trying to find their own. A couple key injuries they're going to have to replace. Josie Altidore is not going to be relevant this weekend. See if he can come back for the later rounds. But still, Matt Bleasler, John Anthony Brooks step up and did tremendously when he came in. But how does that change the complexion of this team, especially with the back four that had trained so consistently with the two anchors in the back? And you know, red cards or not, injuries or not for Portugal, it's still going to be a very difficult task.
Is that the key game, though, the Portugal game, Sunday at 3 o'clock, with Germany being the final one, Germany having beaten Portugal at a canter 5-0. Is it all on this Portugal game?
You know, it's not all in this Portugal game, but you look at the two matches, it's definitely the most likely that they can win. But if Germany comes out and gets a result themselves, they've already put themselves through to that next round. So maybe they rest some players, but you know, from player 1 to player 23, they're a quality side. I look to see the U.S. getting a result this weekend against Portugal and solidifying their place in that knockout round.
Well, Taylor, thank you very much. Taylor Graham, former Sounders defender, joining me here this evening. He'll be back with me for the DC United game on June the 28th as the two teams take the field for the second half. It's coming up next on SoundersFC.com. So, final huddle for this second 45 minutes for the Sounders. All smiles in the supporters section. A reminder, the goals, the three of them coming in the middle to end part of that first half. Brad Evans with a 23rd minute penalty for Seattle. Zach Scott with a header from an Aaron Kovar corner. And then Kenny Cooper moments before half-time from David Estrada's lovely right-wing cross. The difference. No changes for Seattle. Just waiting to see if PSA Elite are making a change of their own. And it looks to me like Jaime Cano has come off. What have the amateur side from California got now? As Taylor Graham was saying, it's probably about pride for them. A chance, though, for one or two players maybe to make their mark. Certainly they will want to go out with their heads held high, and it was a commendable first half performance from the amateur side, no doubt about that. They have made that change, by the way. The defender Jaime Cano is off, and Leicester Trey Hayes, as he's known, another UC Irvine product, is on. A forward, not to be confused with the two-time Super Bowl winning cornerback of the same name from the late 70s and early 80s. Lester Hayes of the Oakland Raiders. This is a 20-year-old. So Seattle in the Cascade Shale, kicking from left to right as we look. PSA Elite in the lurid yellow and green have still not decided whether it's one or the other. Somebody on Twitter saying that colour is a flubber lime green. I've got no idea what that means. Or washed out electricity yellow. Another scoreline coming in. Arizona United 1, LA Galaxy 0. Couple of divisions between those two teams in stature, but LA Galaxy not a side that have necessarily put their all into the Open Cup in recent times. As Michael Azira has an early go, the 13th shot of this game for Seattle Sounders. So the change made by PSA Elite means they now have a top two of Trey Hayes and Michael Salazar. Cameron Iwasa will push to that left-hand side. And it looks like PSA have gone back to a 4-4-2. This is Iwasa. Behind the play, Aaron Simmons is down, clutching his hamstring, and he's got to get back up and try and defend here, and he can't. You can see him in the middle of your screen hobbling as Sean Okoli has it taken away by Oscar Castillo. And I'm not sure Aaron Simmons can continue here in the backfield, wearing number 5 for PSA Elite. There he is now, just hobbling as referee Babacar Jallo goes to him. Salvador Moran, the PSA Elite coach, will not want to have to make another change so early in the second half and lose his young central defender. Another suggestion for the kit, by the way, PSA Elite on Twitter. Thank you to Reed Sutherland, who calls it an almost rave green kit. No way near, Reed. Xena Warrior Kitten says luminous lime, which sounds closer to it. And we also have Eric streaming the game live from Antigua in Guatemala. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for being with us on SoundersFC.com. And here come PSA Elite. Salazar can't get hold of that one. Be interesting to see the tempo in the second half from both teams. PSA Elite surely have to push, they have to press. They'll be leaving gaps at the back. Seattle will want to get through without conceding. Clean sheet, always great for confidence. The other key thing for Ziggy Schmidt's side, no injuries already tonight without a few players who would have had a very good chance of getting starts, unlike their MLS campaigns. Think of those players like Tristan Bowen, Dylan Remick and Andy Rose, who are on the fringe of being starters in Major League Soccer, all out injured. Jimmy Traore, of course, is still out with that groin problem. Clint Dempsey and DeAndre Yedlin away at the World Cup with the US. As Cam Weaver is onside, this could be four. I think the keeper got a touch of that onto the post. It's a lovely ball through to him, and Weaver nearly finished. Play's not done as Cooper wins a corner. Well, you do have to think, what has Cam Weaver got to do to score tonight? It was a very good effort, and I think it came off the legs of Earl Edwards. Credit to the goalkeeper. Excellent save. This time it's going towards Zach Scott, and then Evans gets a header on it. Difficult to twist his neck. And now Hayes looking for the pace of Salazar. Seattle can't afford to switch off here. And that's the first shot of the game for PSA Elite. And it was a neat little counter-attack, which led to Michael Salazar, the Belize international, having a go. So progress for the amateur side. Here comes Seattle though. It's Weaver for Okoli, trying to hold off Castillo. And now Cameron Iwasa. Looking again for the pace of Salazar, made a decent run. PSA Elite starting to play a little bit in the Sounders half. Weaver, and now Cooper. And this is Aaron Kovar. An assist for the second goal. Won the penalty for the first. His first start in the Sounders jersey. Cooper. Tackled by Erlis Garcia. Azera looking for the pace of Okoli. And that's Michael Amick, the UCLA youngster. Brad Evans with the long throw. Right in front of the cameras. Hollywood moment. In there to Weaver. Comes out towards Kovar. Cleared away by Grady Howe. Estrada back in looking for Weaver. And Edwards quickly off his line. And then it's a bit of goalkeepers union stuff. Azera looking longingly for Weaver. That's tidily done by Erlis Garcia. Last of the LA Blues of USL Pro. That ball was intended for Oscar Castillo, who switched flanks to left back. Product out of UConn, Oscar Castillo, and not unusual face to some in the Sounders squad. He played in front of Josh Ford, who tonight is on the bench as the backup goalkeeper for the Sounders. They were together at UConn, and so too they were with O'Brien White. Remember him? One-time Sounder who very sadly had his career cut short by a blood clot issue in his leg. They were all together at UConn. Some Seattle fans wondering what might have been with O'Brien White, who was useful in his year or so around the turn of the decade. Here comes Azera, cut out by Grady Howe. one of 2 LA Galaxy Academy players in this PSA Elite side. Here's Azira. Scott now looking for Kovar, won by Garcia. Now given away to Okoli. Couple of substitute appearances for him in MLS. Memorably came in with that assist on the first game of the season against Sporting Kansas City. Wasn't officially chalked up as such, but it was his cross that led to Chad Barrett's winning goal. Weaver battered into, and that's a free kick. Cam Weaver himself just 15 minutes of MLS action this season, 4 minutes at Montreal, 11 at Vancouver more recently. And now Estrada taking on 2. It's Castillo's touch, and that has gone out for a corner. 7th of the evening for Seattle. It's made for the in-swinger of Aaron Kovar. It's David Estrada with a World Cup beard. Don't normally see him with fine growth upon his chin. Here it comes from Kovar, from Evans, right through. Scott got a touch, stays in play. And it's worked out for PSA Elite, who can counter now with Michael Salazar. Hazen made a run from one end to the other very, very quickly there. Mentioned at the start of this game, PSA Elite looking for the counter-attack or situation from a set piece. Well, they don't have or aren't blessed necessarily with the same technical abilities of Seattle. As you've seen, they do have pace, which at any level, when used right, can be a menace. Wouldn't Weaver love a goal tonight? He's been in and around, a couple of efforts early on for him. Hit the post in the second half. And with his broad frame, always a target, as Kovar whips it to him. Amit goes up as well. Keeper's lost it, and it's in there! I think it's an own goal. Either way, it's 4-0. And the tie is definitely done. It was confusion all over. First it was the keeper Edwards who flapped at it, and in fact it was Kenny Cooper with the acrobatics. And it's Cooper's second of the evening. Lovely finish from Kenny Cooper. Goal number 5 on the season for him. And 4-0 is all Seattle need, and a little bit more. Well, goals breed confidence, goals change games. And Kenny Cooper, who's come off the bench to great effect recently. You think back to Chicago Fire in the most recent game, flicking on for the Marnagles' winning goal, getting a couple himself, helping himself. And now the Sounders are starting to eye up their record Open Cup score. They beat Cal FC, the last amateur team to play Seattle, 5-0 here 2 years ago. So it's within sight with more than half an hour to play. And it's been a determined performance from PSA Elite. But as expected, the professional outfit of the Sounders have proved just too much. But you have to say, a magnificent achievement by the Irvine, California side to make it through to round 4, having already got through 3 ties. Before that, the way they actually entered as an amateur team was through District 4 of the competition, not District 4 of the Hunger Games. That would be an altogether different qualification procedure. This is Aaron Simmons, who had a hamstring problem earlier. Looks to have run it off. An envious Josie Altidore. If only he were looking on with his hamstring problems for the US at the World Cup. Jürgen Klinsmann yet to determine if his tournament is over. If it is, that would be a massive blow for the US, who look to Altidore as the talismanic forward, the man who will do the dirty work up front to allow Clint Dempsey to play in and around him. No like-for-like replacement for Altidore, who's certainly out of the Portugal game on Sunday. The US hoping beyond all reasonable hope that he can get back. Leo Gonzalez. Rare pass going astray for Seattle, who've been consummate. They've been careful and they've been clinical. Brad Evans for Sean Okoli. Given away by Castillo to Estrada. Spent time with Atlanta Silverbacks on loan this season. David Estrada, having fallen down the depth chart with the Sounders, such is the strength this year of the team under Ziggy Schmidt. The class of 2014 proving to be the class of Major League Soccer as we came into this break for the World Cup. It's Estrada again. Up goes Okoli. Well won by Simmons, who is now feeling his calf. Exhibit number 1 of being in the wars. Michael Salazar. Evans hounding, harrying Cameron Iwasa, and now he's hounding Grady Howe. This is a very different performance from Seattle to last year in the US Open Cup, when Seattle actually lost their first ever US Open Cup match. Amazing to think that in what was 5 years of tournament play. Apologies for the interference, which is coming from the stadium. It's about the scariest thing the Sounders have had to deal with tonight. Evans now for Aaron Kovar. Picked off by Simmons. This is Jose Preciado. Pressed by Azira and pressed into a foul. So it looks, for all intents and purposes, that Seattle will march on now to play San Jose Earthquakes in round 5. That'll be here next Tuesday, 7:30. We'll be with you for that one, as Seattle can now think about resting up the legs of Captain Brad Evans. And on for his Sounders debut comes Fabio Pereira, number 21. Quite a month for him, as his home country hosts the World Cup. The Brazilian, the 77th pick out of Michigan this year, is on. A slight, slender, cheerful figure. 2 goals for him in the pre-season And now a chance in the real thing. Kovar looking for Cooper at the near post, who's on a hat trick. Darting run from Kenny Cooper. Also scored a couple of goals for FC Dallas in the Open Cup last year. Marcus Hanneman barely had a thing to do, just one save to make tonight in the second half from Salazar, Michael Salazar. Cooper picks up the loose ball. Weaver for Okoli, chance for a cross. Needed to hold on because he had Cam Weaver rushing in all on his own. 8 yards out. In the end, it was neither cross nor shot. Time to bring you some other scores from around the US Open Cup fourth round tonight. There was a weather delay in what should have been a 5:30 kickoff between Chicago and the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. That's now at half-time. Chicago leading by 2-1. And Seattle win a corner. New England Revolution beating Richmond Kickers by 3-2. New England now to face the Rochester Rhinos in round 5. Sporting Kansas City beating Minnesota United by 2-0. And Arizona United 1 up at the half against LA Galaxy. PSA Elite have made a change while this corner's being sized up by Aaron Kovar. Jose Preciado is the man who's gone off. And on in his stead is Nathan Smith. Cleared away by Garcia. Kovar with another go. Still going Kovar. Gets around his man and ran out of real estate. Or did he? No, says the assistant on this near side. Amick with time to clear. Simmons. Now the substitute, Nathan Smith. PSA Elite with a rare attack. Cameron Iwasa, 3 in the area. And oh dear. Well, right intentions there to go one-on-one with David Estrada. He found a bit of isolation. Final quality, letting down the youngster. Just going back to what I was saying earlier, that San Jose Earthquakes game next Tuesday here at Starfire. It's a 7:30 start for that one. Kenny Cooper will be looking to get his 10th US Open Cup goal either then or maybe even tonight. With his 2 this evening, he's got 9 career US Open Cup goals. That's tied for 9th in the modern pro era, alongside some much vaunted names, Carlos Ruiz, Dwayne Di Rosario, amongst others, according to the Cup.us, who do terrific work in marshalling this competition unofficially. Of course, the official arbiters are US Soccer, as now there's a through ball by Pereira for Sean Okoli, and well done by Earl Edwards to come out and clear the danger. And the first look at what Fabio Pereira can do from that midfield position. Great vision from him, wearing number 21 in the middle of your screen. Chance to play from 4-0 up. And a first chance for Sounders fans to see him in a first team game. Weaver goes up. Okoli. Wouldn't he love an assist or a goal tonight? Pereira wins the header. Takes a whack for his troubles in his hip as he landed. And away comes Erles Garcia. Smith. And a foul by David Estrada. A little unnecessary, as Iwasa wasn't really going anywhere. This is Cooper on a hat-trick. Excellent finishing from him tonight. Second goal was a beauty. Estrada for Okoli, didn't read the interception from Oscar Castillo. Well recovered by Michael Azera. Covers a lot of ground in the middle of the park, Michael Azera. Now a chance to break if they want it. For Sean Okoli. It's run to Cooper. Looking to play in Fabio Pereira, who made a third-man run from deep. The attendance, by the way, a cosy 3,718. Fabulous night at Starfire. Wonderfully intimate, raucous at the same time. And the fans reveling in this 4-goal Sounders display. Michael Amick taking matters into his own hands. Grady Howe for Garcia, one of the more experienced players in this unit for PSA Elite, who after this will go back to playing in California, as now Pereira for Cooper on the hat-trick! And Edwards gets in off on it. Very nearly landed. Well, Cooper was close, and again, Fabio Pereira with some wonderful work through to Cooper. And we're stopping the play here because Aaron Simmons is down inside the PSA Elite penalty area. I think he has a little bit of cramp. He's been in the wars tonight, hasn't he? Looked like he had hamstring problems, had a calf knock. Now he's got a bit of cramp. Just waiting to see what's next for the poor young lad. And if you're wondering about tickets for next Tuesday at home to San Jose, in round number 5, there'll be a pre-sale tomorrow for season ticket holders. So check out soundersfc.com for that. Doubtless another full house here. Well, they're enjoying it, and why ever not? I think they'd go on singing till midnight if they could. Well, Nathan Simmons is taking a swig, and I think he's going to come back on and try and see out these final 17 minutes as Seattle look like they're coasting to a resounding victory. Simmons back on now. This is Grady Howe. Well, after a break from home matches this month, Sounders returning to CenturyLink Field on July 13th. There's a cross in here to the near post. And well done too from Cameron Iwasa to throw in for PSA Elite. Yeah, July 13th, Portland Timbers at home. You can rave with nearly 60,000 fans. A Cascadia Cup game as well. Tickets for that match and others, again, at soundersfc.com. Here's Kenny Cooper. Very nearly had a hat-trick, still has time. Azira for Kovar. He's been a little quieter in this second half. Pereira wanting to orchestrate. Now Estrada. Azira comes to help him out. Pereira has a bit of room to play in. It's all a little too easy now for the Sounders against what must be weary-legged amateur opposition. It's the third time that PSA Elite have been in the US Open Cup. They've only been going as a club since 2011. I mentioned earlier about the rotation of their team. It's an ongoing thing for them. A year or so back when they were in the US Open Cup, they had a terrific win at Portland Timbers under-23s, but then lost 6-0 at Carolina Railhawks. The reason being, one of the reasons, that a lot of their squad just simply couldn't afford to take the time off to go to Carolina and play the game. Such is the difference in level when you are an amateur team. Okoli. Good tackle by Howe, as Okoli was lining up. Maybe took a touch too many. Now there's plenty of room for Kovar. Far post, there's Weaver all alone. Away by Amick. Now Bjerman. Hasn't really been able to get into the game, young Mats Bjerman. Kovar wins it back. Cooper, Okoli to his right. Now Okoli, tackled by Castillo. That's a Sounders throw in. Fabio Pereira towards Weaver. It's intercepted by the 19-year-old sub Nathan Smith. Another one of those that played in the Under-17 World Cup in Mexico a few years ago. Another LA Galaxy Academy player. So 14 or so minutes to go now, including a bit of stoppage time. Will Seattle equal their highest ever US Open Cup score? Wherever you are in the world this evening, you can tweet us. Let us know where you're watching, listening from. We've already had one from Guatemala, I think it is. I'm at Ross Fletcher 1 on Twitter. Had a tweet in from Chicago, Illinois, saying, what is it when Ross Fletcher, commentator though, he starts talking about the Hunger Games? Poor guy, go Sounders. I just thought it was worthwhile mentioning. District 4, it does sound very daunting, doesn't it? Which is the league with which PSA Elite had to qualify through. Now Kenny Cooper. Kovar. Cooper's still running on. One of the fittest players on the squad, and you can see why and see how. Gonzalez takes a foul from Nathan Smith. So the next change for the Sounders. Cam Weaver has put in a productive shift. And his day is now done, and it's Chad Barrett who is coming in. The unmistakable Chad Barrett. Another one of those players who's been in terrific form. And you look at this, Seattle resting Obafemi Martins tonight, given a bit of extra time off in between MLS games. You bring off the bench Chad Barrett, a man who averaged 7 goals a season in 5 consecutive years in MLS. What luxury for Ziggy Schmidt. Pereira asking a bit of David Estrada. I think he was trying the alley-oop there. Estrada goes in to win the ball. He's had a solid performance at right back. Made the goal for Kenny Cooper just on the stroke of half-time. He's reverted, hasn't he, to full-back. Started his career at right back, went up front, scored a hat-trick on the opening day against Toronto in 2012, and back at right back again. Ably deputising for Brad Evans, or it's Ozzy Alonso who's just caught the ball on the VIP table, and that was cheered almost as loudly as any of the 4 goals. It's fun all the way at Starfire tonight. Special atmosphere, different kind of atmosphere. So used to the throaty roar, the seismic roar of over 40,000 at Century League Field. More of a hearty rasp inside Starfire. Kovar will just about keep this one in. Zach Scott scored the second with that pinpoint header, near post header. And I think now PSA Elite have shown their hand. They have pushed as hard as they could, admirably, from minute 1. Clearly weary now, probably wanting to get through this at 4-0. It's no shame on their part. It's been a very, very solid and professional performance from Seattle. And PSA Elite will be able to hold their heads up high too. Coming in wiser for the experience, and be some experience now for their final sub of the game as Mats Björman goes off and Michael Sahagian is on. Sahagian out of Azusa Pacifica Christian College near LA, playing NCAA Division 2. Midfielder by trade. And a guy who conceded a late penalty at LA2 in the previous round, but that penalty was saved. The guy who took it, Travis Bowen, the brother of the Sounders, Tristan, as Estrada tries to get in on the act. So 7 minutes to go, Seattle 4 to the good. Don't forget the Sounders FC 5-match pack, which will secure a seat to the biggest, most exciting matches of the year. You can plan a day with a family, your friends, or even the whole office to matches with the Timbers, LA Galaxy, the English Premier League's Tottenham Hotspur, and more. You can get yours at soundersfc.com. Chance of a break with Cooper. He's been allowed to carry it a long way. Barrett. Still going, Chad Barrett. And that's in for Okoli. And Sean Okoli gets his very first goal for Seattle Sounders Football Club. The homegrown kid with a happy finish to this game. And 5-0 equals the Sounders' record US Open Cup scoreline. Determined work by Chad Barrett. There was never really a tackle there. And not a man within yards of Sean Okoli, but he doesn't care. Terrific moment for the Todd Beamer High School kid. Homegrowner makes it 5. And the crowd appreciating the endeavour of Sean Okoli. And well they might. And we talked at the start of this webcast about youngsters playing to impress, playing for more minutes. Okoli doing his level best to keep him in Ziggy Schmidt's thoughts for next Tuesday. And it is an interesting situation for Ziggy Schmidt. US Open Cup 5th round, Tuesday game here at Starfire, and then the team will be travelling on the Thursday as Estrada crosses for Cooper, and in goes Kovar. The Sounders playing on Tuesday night here against San Jose Earthquakes, travelling on Thursday to DC. It's what, a 5.5 hour flight to the nation's capital before a game on the Saturday. So having had a long while in relative terms to sit back and relax and watch a few World Cup games, it's now 2 games inside a week for the Sounders to contend with. So maybe you will see more of the fringe players getting their chance and hopefully, like tonight, taking their chance from a Sounders point of view. Thank you for your tweets about where you're watching from tonight. Someone says Oregon. Kim, I'm watching all the way from Queen Anne. Sean, Bothell. Brian, Anacortes. That's a bit further away. Josildo from Arizona, as Michael Salazar will just warm the palms of Marcus Hanneman. That one was drifting a little bit wide, but Hanneman, professional as he is, taking no chances. Akron, Ohio, home of Steve Zakawani and DeAndre Yedlin. Good evening. Waikiki Beach, BJ Montoya. Alex Manning's in Minneapolis. And Minnesota as well, Marshall, Minnesota. Good evening, one and all. Thank you for being with us on SoundersFC.com. So Leo Gonzalez out and Lamar Nagel in. Scored the winner in the last game, the MLS match at Chicago. 5 goals and 4 assists for him this season. And a few minutes to get the adrenaline pumping in what has been a powerful performance by Seattle Sounders FC. And there's maybe more with Chad Barrett. Defended by Simmons, and away now to Salazar, who had that shot a moment or two ago. This is Michael Azira for Fabio Pereira. More shouts coming from Southern California, from South Carolina. More people watching in Portland. Good evening. Nice to know the Timbers are still in the competition. Could these teams meet further down the line? How tasty a game that could be. Dave Raisch is in Bonn, Germany, watching us on the stream tonight. Hi, Dave. Jeff Nichols in Pensacola, Florida. Thomas Webb in Louisiana. And Todd Peterson all the way from Ballard, which is probably only a couple of Marcus Hanneman goal kicks. Maybe a few more if it bounces along the tarmac on I-5. Michael Salazar, PSA Elite haven't had a corner yet, and they're not going to get one there. Snuffed out. And now Barrett, can he run? He can't because Simmons has brought him down. And the referee, I don't think, will bring a yellow card out here. The game has been played in a very good spirit. No need for any cards tonight. Azera now for Sean Okoli. Kenny Cooper, 20 seconds plus stoppage time to go. Is there a sixth for the Sounders? Well, Estrada's trying his best to make it happen, and it's going to be a corner. 10th of the night. Just a final tweet from a listener tonight. Basketball Bloke says, checking in from Manaus, Brazil. I paid $20 for 24 hours of internet to listen to your golden pipes. Basketball Bloke, good evening. It's right now 1 a.m. Brazil time, or at least it is Rio time. Not sure in Manaus. Welcome to the jungle and all that. Kovar. Cooper won't be able to keep that in. So we're into the added time then. Seattle on for a record-equaling US Open Cup victory. It's been a composed, consummate performance from the men in Cascade Shale. PSA Elite, their big moments on the big stage, and you have to say, huge credit to them. They came to try and play. They played the game in the right spirit. They gave it a little go. The Sounders have just been too good. The gap, of course, wide when you're one of the best teams in North American soccer against an amateur side from Irvine, California, but you have to say it'd be great to see this PSA club continue to grow. Their mission, by the way, is to try and develop from youngsters up to give young aspiring professionals their chance. You can check them out on their Facebook page. And as I mentioned, just to underline the golf and class, as I said at the start of the game, the Sounders, with what, 100,000 Twitter followers? PSA Elite, before today's game, had 85. I'm sure they've won a few fans tonight. Okoli will chase it down. Pereira makes a run in front of him. Here goes Fabio Pereira. In behind Amick. Pereira! Watched and tipped over by Edwards. I've liked what I've seen from Fabio Pereira. Nimble. Decent on the ball, made a couple of opportunities for teammates, and one there for himself. It'll be a short corner here to Chad Barrett. Sounders winding down the clock. And there is the full-time whistle. A superb performance by Seattle Sounders FC. It's their record-equaling scoreline in the US Open Cup, dispatching the amateur side PSA Elite by 5-0. Kenny Cooper the highlight with 2 goals. Brad Evans got them going with an early penalty. Zach Scott with the second. Cooper with a couple before Sean Okoli got his very first for Seattle Sounders. And PSA Elite came to try and play, but in the end, the professional outfit, it was just too much. Congratulations for Marcus Hanneman, 42 years young. A clean sheet on his return to the team for the first time in around 6 months. And the Sounders now march on to play San Jose in round 5 next Tuesday. Tickets at soundersfc.com. Details tomorrow, pre-sale for season ticket holders, and those from the ECS, I'm sure, will be back for it. Let's recap then how this game happened for Seattle Sounders, who were in control from minute 1. It all started with the penalty, which was won by Aaron Kovar. Brad Evans tucked away the penalty. That was in the 23rd minute. And then Zach Scott with one of those now trademark near post headers, making it 2. Kenny Cooper got in on the act. Lovely cross from David Estrada. Great movement by Cooper, excellent timing, unerring finish for number 3. Aaron Kovar had a hand in the 4th as well, which Kenny Cooper acrobatically turned in. Superb finish, nonchalant celebration. That was 4-0, the game gone by then. Chad Barrett with an assist for Sean Okoli's first goal as a professional Seattle Sounders player, capping off a terrific night here at Starfire. The full-time score, Seattle Sounders 5, PSA Elite 0. The Sounders marching on then next Tuesday to play San Jose Earthquakes in a battle of the Western Conference Elite sides. I'm Ross Fletcher. Thank you very much for your company here on SoundersFC.com. We'll see you again on Tuesday night.